What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Put Me in Coach podcast. I'm your host, Cole Jenkins, episode 16. We have a good guest today, special guest today. If you've ever heard of Hoop Mixtape Ball is Life, they kind of do something like this. They're located here in Indy. A lot of open runs that I believe that he's doing at multiple Grand Park areas. Ink Tapes, Aaron Walpole, my man, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Man, I've been following you. I hit you up, I think last week, asking to get you on. I've been following you for a while. Really enjoy all the stuff that you post. And tell me a little bit about it. How did you get started? What made you want to get started? And just we'll go from there.
So I've always been a sports fan and just loved media. I mean, in our generation, you've seen edits and stuff on, probably the first place I saw edits was like Vine in sixth grade.
Mhm.
And so I grew up, my dad worked for the Colts, so I've always been in love with sports. And then we moved to Raleigh. And when we were there, we had Dennis Smith Jr. play at NC State where he worked.
Mhm.
And he was like one of those guys who's just like bouncy, like mixtape freak, like mixtape Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And so I saw like Ball's life and stuff at a young age through that. And then just through Vine and stuff, just started editing on my phone, just like NBA stuff, NFL stuff, like small stuff like that. Never with an intention of like going crazy with it. It's just I was a 12-year-old having fun with little rap songs and NBA highlights. And so then I moved back to Indiana in 2018, right before freshman year. And freshman year, I had a entrepreneurship class where you basically had to like create a business. And most kids don't really like, most kids would like create a stamp and then never think of it again. I don't know how many actual viable businesses have came out of that class, but it was still a good class.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm good at this editing thing and the school's got resources. I might as well use it. And so I started taking videos of our girls basketball team. And that's, I think I called it ink tapes from the start because my like Vine or Instagram thing was ink. So because that's Indiana, North Carolina, and it's just like a small, not crazy thing, but I was just like, it's what works. And I wasn't thinking it was going to become my job. Um, but then it grew, and I met a guy named Jeremiah. He did J Reels at a
Oh yeah.
Westfield girls game. I got really lucky because it was like the one Westfield girls game you ever went to. And I can talk to a wall, and I was like, "Hey, who are you with?" And he's like, "J Reels," and I was like, "I don't know who that is, but dope. I'll follow you."
Yeah.
And he helped me out a ton. He got me like there was a guys game he couldn't film, and he had me film it, and that was the first time. Like I could have been filming guys games, I just had no clue what I was doing. And he helped me out a ton. And so that school season ends. My edits have kind of grown a little bit. Like I have a few people like asking me for stuff, but I'm like, I don't know. And then he invites me to go with him to this Prep Ball Stars Midwest Challenge thing. And like Isaiah Thompson is going to Purdue's there, Brandon Newman, Armand Franklin, who's now at UVA, John Michael Molloy, who went to Carmel. And so I filmed those guys, make a few mixtapes. That gives me a ton of just like, okay, exposure, like not just Westfield. And then I went to Bill Hensley Run and Slam in Fort Wayne with him. Jeremiah drove me up there because I'm like 14 at this time.
Mm.
Paid for my hotel room, all this stuff, got me linked with a few guys. I made enough money to buy a camera separate from the school. That summer, I kind of, that's when everything kind of started. I don't want to say blowing up, but that's when I was like, all right, this is like, a job. And I started making money consistently off of mixtapes. That school season was awesome. I worked for Westfield, filmed Ellen versus LC a few times when they had Tony Perkins, Nigel Pack. And then it just kind of took off. So yeah, I've been doing it ever since. Now around I think 8.5K followers.
Mhm.
Yesterday's shoot was the first time I ever filmed active NBA players. I filmed Kyle Guy and Gary Harris. I'm traveling with Indy Heat all summer. So in July, I'll be in Augusta for 2 weeks for the EYBL Bubble, basically, is what they're doing. So yeah, it's taken off really well. So yeah.
Man, okay, there was a lot going on there. So before we get to the players, though, because I do want to talk about some of these players that
Yeah.
you've been recording and whatnot. Um, I mean, how does it feel? I mean, you just talked about like the whole thing. I mean, is it a surreal feeling or is it something
It
that's kind of settling in now?
it is kind of surreal. So like I grew up, at Colts games every weekend, and then in Raleigh, NC State games, and like these guys are like idols. Like I'm looking at like Maverick Rowan, random white kid who probably is in Europe playing basketball now. But for me at 12, I'm like, oh my God, Maverick Rowan. Like this is an NC State basketball player. And then now like these are some like Fletcher Lawyer, but like some of these kids are like my best friends and they're like going to play Big Ten basketball. I'm like, it's kind of like when you look back on it, you're like, whoa, but then now it's just like they're normal dudes. So it's definitely cool for me because like you have those relationships with like, I mean, top like guys who could literally be going to the league in a few years. But they're still great guys. I mean, it's just when you're able to get to the point where it's just another guy, it's like, it's dope people. So
See, it's nice to hear that from your point of view because for me at Carmel, I played against a lot of these guys and like
yeah.
I was not too nice on the court. I talked a lot of shit. So trying to get them on the podcast is damn near impossible. I was such a sack of shit on the court. But is there any players that you've come across that you've just been like, wow, this is a talent right here, and who
Oh,
they might be?
that's a I guess last summer I saw Paulo Banchero and Patrick Baldwin both play, and
Mm,
they're both like Patrick's like Jason Tatum. That's the only thing you can compare. And Patrick's really cool. So he's going to University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, where his
yeah,
dad coaches, and he's one of the like most down to earth, just like still comments on random posts, just like normal dudes. I'm like, bro, you're gonna have like a $10 million deal in a few years. Like
right.
it's like they're really great dudes. But Paulo was just a freak of nature. Like
Mm.
he's, I mean, huge, can get to the hoop, can shoot, can dribble. Like it's stupid. I'm trying to think who else I've seen. I'm I mean Amani I've seen, but I wasn't extremely impressed by him. Jalen Duran's tough, but I mean Amani's still a freak. Amani's gonna be a
Right.
all-star. Um, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of I think one thing I will say is like yesterday when I was watching Kyle play,
Mhm.
I mean Kyle's like he's not an NBA starter. He's a, good bench guy.
Mm.
But watching an NBA bench player versus a at like a good Big Ten player, like it's just like the difference between that and like it's cuckoo. Like it's crazy how much better they are than everyone else.
Is it weird seeing these guys compete against guys that are in college? Because like you just
Yeah.
said, they're playing against these guys, and it's a big difference. And yesterday you were at runs, I think at the Noblesville Grand.
Yeah, it was at Finch Creek. It was at Finch Creek.
I
Yeah.
mean, how is it like seeing those guys go at it with NBA guys and college guys?
It's really dope, and it's a lot better when you can get guys like into it. And so like Derek Grant was running those, and he's a trainer, and so guys are like into them and making sure they're on it. But the dope thing is like there's these runs. I don't know if you've heard of competitive greatness, but they've got a ton of runs going on right now too. And like Braden Smith at Westfield, Gus Hutchinson was at the run I was at yesterday. For those guys like Braden, he's going these runs and playing Jaden Ivey, Lance Stevenson, come on, like all these huge players. And then he goes to Grant Park on the Tuesday night and has to play Brownsburg. And while that's a big deal 2 years ago, when he's playing against pros, it's like, oh my God, I can go drop 50 right now and
Mhm.
not even sweat. And so I think it's dope for the NBA guys, but it's really cool for the high school guys because they're getting so much better and they go play in their high school games. They're like, oh my gosh, I just got off the court with Lance Stevenson. I can go do this.
I think that's probably got to be the most beneficial part for the high school kids or
Yeah, for
kids that are
sure.
going into college is, you're playing against guys that, yeah, sure, they're battling for a roster spot in the league, but like no one's taking it from them. I mean,
Nah.
Kyle guy, like you said, doesn't get a lot of minutes, but is a very good player, very
Exactly. Yeah.
talented player.
I mean, he won a he led a team to a national championship. People forget about like you have to be one of the best players in the world to do that. It's just when you're in the NBA playing against freaks of nature, it's a little different. But I mean, he still can hoop. I mean, everyone can in the NBA.
Are you seeing these high school kids holding their own? I mean, are they competing against these top-notch players?
They can. I mean, they can. It's a lot of IQ, and I mean, I doubt Kyle Guy and Gary Harris are going 120% when they're playing
Right.
against, Big Ten guys. But it's definitely they don't have it. You don't see like everyone holds their own. It's just with the NBA guys, you have a few more of those like wow moments. You're like,
Mhm.
he just pulled up from a volleyball line like it was nothing, and you're like, what in the world? But yeah.
Does that happen a lot when you're out doing this stuff? Is that you're just a lot of wow moments?
Yeah, really. I mean, I think I had one a few weeks ago. I don't know if you know Luke Brown from Blackford.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was someone to work out with him, and he was doing this drill where you shoot from each spot, like layup, free throw line, 3-point line, volleyball line, and you have to make 2 in a row before you miss 2. And he casually went out to half court, like by like if you miss one, if you miss 2, then you go back to the start. And he
Mm.
went out to half court, just like draining shot after shot after shot. I'm like, what in the world? Like it's not like I'll shoot my driveway and I'll hit 5 straight. I'm like, I am Jesus Christ right now. And then I watch these kids and I'm like, what in the world?
That's hilarious. It's funny because I grew up watching guys like Gary Harris. He went to HSC, so it was horrible to watch your Greyhounds battle against him. Sectional after sectional, but
Yeah.
it's kind of cool that you're doing this around town because now you get to see, these guys from high school, really start to see like what they can turn into, whether it's Big Ten, ACC,
Mm-hmm.
SEC. You ever think about, looking at these guys and thinking what they could be, or is
Oh
it?
yeah, 100%. I mean, I have very strong opinions that I do not state about a lot of players because when I state my opinion, it does not always go well on the internet. I've like I'll usually just ask questions in my posts and like let the comments, have themselves like I think as for me, putting out like rankings would be the dumbest possible thing I could do because like I love all these guys. Like I don't I respect everyone. I think some guys are better basketball players than others,
Mhm.
but it's just a respect thing, and like that's not my role. Like I'm not. I'm a 17-year-old. I'm not here to tell you whether you can or can't be a Division I basketball player.
Let's talk.
But
Oh, you got it.
yeah, I was gonna say like there are some guys like I think um there are like just a random example like Luke Goody, for example. A lot of people say he's overrated because he only had like I think Fletch might have been the leading scorer last year. I don't know. I don't quote me on that, but he at the same time has the skill set. He's 6'7", 6'8", with a 3-point shot and I think sneaky athleticism. So while he might not be dropping 25, 30 a game at Illinois, I think he has a skill set that could go to the league just because he's 6'8" with a extremely good jump shot.
Mhm.
And like I think that's like I'll be thinking about that when I'm like watching guys, but I don't always put that type of stuff out there. So
You ever think it's kind of, I mean, I'm trying to find the word, comical, I guess, because this is like your job. Like you
mhm.
go out and you watch high level talent.
Yeah,
So when you
yeah.
hear people say like, "Oh, this guy's not that good. This guy's not that great." Oh, well, this guy's going to Purdue and this guy's going to Illinois. This guy's going. I mean, you ever just like shut them up easily and be like, "Okay, just like you obviously don't know anything about basketball."
Well, yeah. I mean, I not really because at the same time, there's a reason I take videos because I would be on JV right now. But but it's I like. I mean, I try not to be like cocky about my opinions, but like I definitely do think like there's guys who I know who are committed to high major schools who I do not think should be committed to high major schools.
Mhm.
But it definitely is nice because like I have like if anyone like if some kid commits to Purdue, like anyone can come and ask me like, hey, is this kid like legit? And I'll be like, yeah, that kid's legit. Or like if he's
Mhm.
committed to IU or whatever. So it's definitely nice to have that opinion because like I mean, the cool thing for me that I can see through this is I don't only get to watch players play, but I can see their attitudes and how they run on and off the court. And so like this isn't the end all be all for me. Like I could see myself in an NBA front office, a college coach. I could see myself doing video. I could see myself on a doing TV. I have no clue what I want to do, but it's definitely nice just to gather that being around these high level athletes and understanding how they like work. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Let's talk about some of the work that you've done this year.
Mhm.
You've been all over, honestly, but at
Yeah.
Westfield, you got to see Monty Bates and some of these top-notch players. Um, you did say that they wasn't as great as people say, but you also said he's very great. I mean, I'm not going to throw you under
Yeah.
the bus like that,
Yeah.
but I mean, these guys are really good players and they're also very
Yeah.
young. Is it crazy to see, players like that in person where there's so much hype around them that you get to see them, play right in front of your eyes?
Oh yeah, it's Amani was definitely surreal just because I mean we've all seen Amani for the past 2 or 3 years and you're
Right.
like, oh my God, he's right there.
Mhm.
And I mean, like I don't mean to sound like a fan, but like shit, it's Amani Bates.
Right.
Um, and but like I don't even think for him that was a rough weekend. Everyone has rough weekends. He didn't have much of a team around him. Uh and so like he was I can't take away anything from 4 games. I know people have seen him play 50 times and think he's the next KD.
Yeah.
So but it's definitely surreal seeing like those gyms just like load. I'm trying to think of the most loaded gym I've been in. I think seeing the like I have not been to a like um Bronny James like watching just a gym pack to see him because that'll probably be in Augusta. I'll see that type of thing. But I love just the energy. Like AAU energy is dope, but I think like Ellen versus LC, like just those packed MIC games, I think it's really hard to beat those. Those are some of my favorites to film.
Yeah, I was gonna say the environment at a high school game and an AAU game is just so different. I
Yeah,
mean, high school for one, there's students who are crazy in themselves, but it's like more controlled.
yeah,
AAU, it is the
yeah. I
furthest
love
from
AAU
control.
parents, but there can definitely be some. It's two different types of crazy. They're both crazy, but they're two different types of crazy for sure.
You said something about going to the EYBL bubble. Is that what you said?
It's not gonna be a bubble. I mean, it's like people quote bubble. So we've been trying to figure out. So they have to line up all their stuff with live periods with NCAA, and so the NCAA wasn't even live until June 1st, and that was just for visits.
Hmm.
It's all this stuff about when coaches can go out and when they can't. It's really, I mean, you've probably heard about it. It's crazy. So they had to figure out when in July they could get their EYBL season in. And so they're either going to do like 4 weekends straight, but that's just a ton of travel. So instead, we're all just going to be in Augusta, South Carolina for 2 weeks straight. So it's not actually a bubble, but we'll all be in the same place. It's similar to that NBA bubble where everyone's in the same place playing a entire season and then a tournament. So yeah,
Which team did you say that you were following again?
I'm with Indy Heat. So they I mean I'll film everyone, but they're the Indiana UIBL team. We've got uh our alum are Jaron Jackson,
Hmm.
Greg Oden. I mean most every big guy at Indiana's Trace. All those guys have played there. Jaden Ivey. So we've got a good squad this year. But they like I've been with them for the past 2 years, so they'll
Okay.
travel me. They are a part of my income. So yeah, they're yeah.
This isn't really something to brag about because I didn't make the team, but Indy Heat I tried out for 1 year and I knew I was toast from the beginning. I was guarding Tiger Campbell the entire day. So I mean, you can probably guess how that went, but they did a drill where it's like layup lines. One group has a ball, one doesn't, and they just dunk. I mean, just trying to contact dunk the whole time, and I can't dunk and I can't block, so I was pissed from the get. But what I'm saying with this is that team's very talented. I mean, the
Oh yeah.
program in all is insane. Whether it's the
Yeah.
A, B, no matter what team it is, there's potential. Um, what do you see at their practices? How do you see these young players, go about themselves on and off the court?
It's definitely eye-opening for me to watch because like I mean our team this year, our starting lineup is Tayshawn Comer, who will go Power Five. He's at Cathedral. Fletcher Lawyer committed to Purdue. Tay Davis committed to Louisville. CJ Gunn committed to IU, and then Keba is our like big. He's got a Kansas State offer. He'll go Power Five. He's at Longmire. And then we've got a Jalen Jackson on our bench. Wolf. I don't want to forget anyone. Shoot, I think that's it. So we only got we're trying to figure out our final roster because everyone's moving around right now. But it's definitely cool to see that. Like, I mean, I'm used to filming Westfield every week or just something like that, and seeing that much talent on the floor at once and being around it all the time is really cool. But it's like in practice, it's definitely like these guys aren't like in high school ball. It's a brotherhood. Shoot, you went to Carmel, you know how that works.
Yeah.
And with AAU, I mean, guys aren't going to like each other. I mean, it's a lot of talent on one basketball floor and a lot of guys who aren't used to having your pass basketball. And so by July, you have to get that right. But definitely just different egos, different agendas. I mean, we lost a point. We had a kid named Paul McMillan, who's top 60 player in the country. He didn't want to share minutes with another point guard. He left. So it's definitely the whole free agency almost too, like throughout like you can move whenever you want. It's not trades. It's not just you move whenever. And we saw Monty go play for the number 1 team in the country. And so it's definitely a different vibe, but seeing those kids, it's definitely a different environment for them. And I think it's good because it, shows like an NBA college type environment more. And they're playing against that type of level of competition, but it's definitely more stress and a different type of vibe for them.
Do you think that, you talk about guys hopping around, which people hop around like a madman now, especially. I mean, is that something that's kind of like annoying for you because you maybe want to get this guy, but he's on a different team now? I mean, do you have to pay close attention to all the movement?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got to pay attention to it. I mean, it's not really that. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like 2 summers ago, Jalen Green and Josh Christopher played together for a weekend. And like looking at that, I'm like, that's pretty dope. Like, I mean, it's 2 of the 2 NBA players playing together. And like, I bet 5 years from now, looking back, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm kind of glad Jalen or Amani went and played with Team Final because they've got 5 top 100 players in the country. But what pisses me, like, I've never been pissed about moves, but what I posted something about the Amani thing. I said like Amani's really living up to the KD comparison because they lost Team Final by like 20. And they went and played for him, and I was like, all right, man, really living up to KD. And so that made me, I mean, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I was like, bro, like they're the number 2 team in the country. You're not even from there. Like, what in the world? There's a lot of rules about the whole trend. Like, you have to play in the Indiana EYBL team, you have to be from one of the bordering states. So no one really knows how in the world Amani's playing for Team Final right now, but we'll figure that out eventually. So there's rules about it, but it can be a little frustrating, but at the same time, it can be cool. Because I mean, you're getting some of the best players in the world playing with the best players in the world. So yeah.
You got a job now that a lot of people would love to have. That's the thing. So I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun. So I'll start out by asking, who are some of your favorite players that are in the league, or even some that are in college?
League. I think Devin Booker could be the next Kobe Bryant. I love watching D-Book. Donovan Mitchell. I love watching, Karras on the Pacers. Dennis Smith when he plays. D Rose. Yeah.
I can imagine that you've been keeping up with the playoffs quite a bit. So who do you think is going to be in the finals? And then go ahead and give your finals pick.
I mean, I'll take the Suns and the Nets, and then the Nets, just because the Nets are too good. I mean, I can't. It's hard to pick against them.
I was gonna say it's kind of hard to pick against Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving.
It's stupid, man. And Blake Griffin's playing like Blake Griffin again. It's like, what in the world, man?
Yeah, their team is. Oh, I'm a LeBron guy, so I'm pissed that he did what he did. So that's a topic for another time. Let's see. The draft class coming up is wild. I think it could be one of the best that we can we can see. Who do you like in this upcoming draft class a lot?
I like Cade a lot just because of his just his size and his ability to play a guard. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Jalen Green still, though, just because he played G League. He wasn't on that big stage in college. And I think he could be, an all-star within 2 years. So I think that'll be interesting to watch.
What do you like to do outside of filming, some of these, athletes of sorts?
Yeah. So I'm a huge sports. You can probably see behind me, I have a tire and 2 pieces of sheet metal. So I'm a racing fan. And then, I watch literally any and every sport. I hang with my friends 24/7 when I'm not taking videos. Probably a little too much, to be honest. But yeah, I'm a high schooler. Just
How did we get into racing? Talk a little bit about that real quick.
My dad took me to a Brickyard 400 practice when I was 7. He's not in any way, shape, or form a racing fan, and I got hooked somehow. And I actually did go-karting, like competitively for 2 years in North Carolina, and I was pretty good at it. It's just like, it's not a cheap thing at all.
Right.
You wreck something and you're having to replace it. And my dad was like, "I'm not a mechanic, bro." And I was like, "Oh, all right." So I still love it, but it's
Did you make your
not
way out
everyone.
to the Indy 500 at all or no?
Yes, I did. I had a very fun 8,500 experience this year. That was a
Really?
fun race. Yeah, my dad and my friend and I had we had but
I'll end it with one more thing. Do you hoop at all? I mean, are we hooping in our off time at all?
yeah. So I hoop with my friends and I. We have student impact at Grand Park. It's basically all the kids who don't play for the school team. So baseball players, football players, in a league in the fall, and we're all just, messing around, but like still competitive as shit. And it's super fun. But most of the time when there's basketballs on the floor, I am taking videos. But I hoop when I can. So yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad to at least hear you like to put the ball in the basket.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Not
No,
just
no, no.
watch
I'll definitely think I'm MJ every once in a while on my driveway. But it's
Good. Well, it was great to have you on. I love your content, like I said before.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've been following it for quite some time now, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck the rest of the summer.
Thanks, man. You too.
Yeah, dream girl, dreaming, I be dreaming. Missing all the days you got me fiending. I said I love you, babe, you know I mean it. Hey, yeah, dream girl, I be dreaming.